Cooking is considered a basic life skill, but some have honed that skill and turned it into a profitable business. This is the story of Abiola Akanji, popularly called Chef Stone. Abiola Akanji discovered his love for cooking at a very early age.
The name came from business school. When I was in business school in London, they used to call me Mr. Stone, the man that cannot be moved. Because when I set my mind to something, there's nothing you can say to stop me from doing it, basically. Unlike many boys, I was in the kitchen more than on the field. I wasn't a football person. I wasn't really a sporty kid. I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my mom. I was really fascinated with food and baking and anything to do with food. I used to be that kid that anytime a food show comes up, I'll be right in front of the TV watching. My mom enjoyed that because it got us closer together. But my dad really didn't think much of it. Like most African dads, it just thought, it just doesn't like playing football. It likes being in the kitchen. After I went to London for university, while I was in London, I worked as a chef throughout. So that was for me like the ultimate thing, work around food. And that's where I kind of found the passion for cooking and being a chef. But I still, at that point, didn't think I was going to do a business of it because I was studying business. My dad worked in the bank for 35 years. I was never going to come back and say, I don't want to do that. I want to come and be a chef. So for me, it was never a business until I moved back to Nigeria and saw that the industry was totally non-existent. There was nobody was teaching anybody how to be a chef. You have to go abroad to learn or work under someone for many, many years to learn. So that's where I kind of got a gap in the market that I really wanted to fill. I think that point was a tipping point, really, because I remember, when I broke it to my dad that, look, I don't want to be a banker. I don't want to. He had interviews lined up for me, like, you work in a bank here. I know this man. I know that man. Like every African father, I want to help his kid. And then I'll go for the interview and I'll almost sabotage it because I didn't want to work there. From there, I'll walk out and go to a restaurant and tell them I'm a chef. I just came back from London. I want to show you what I can do. I was trying to get a job, but the pay was so low. And I just saw that, look, it wasn't going to happen. So I just thought, you know what, I need to set up a school where we can train chefs here. And I had to go to my dad because I wanted to go to culinary school. Because all these years, I'd never gone to culinary school. I just kind of learned from working. But if I was going to teach other people, I need to learn how it's done properly. So I went back to my dad and I said, Dad, I don't want to do this. I don't want to wear a tie. I feel choked with that tie. I want to cook. This is what I love. And he said, you must be mad. And I called my mom and said, your son has obviously run mad. After all the money we paid, sending him to university. Now he says he wants to be a cook. That talk to your son, talk some sense into him. And my mom was very supportive. She said, you know what, this is what you want to do. She tried to talk to my dad. It was a little bit of a fight at home, but eventually my dad came through and said he thought it was a phase. He thought, let me send him to culinary school. Maybe after a while he'll come back and see that that's not really what I want to do. But it stuck because, I'm the stone. If I set my mind to something, I just have to do it. So, I went to culinary school and he supported it. Today he's proud of me. He always calls me, my son is a principal. He owns a school here, owns a school in Abuja. So he's very proud now. I'm glad. The culinary school was 6 months. I did a program at the French Culinary Institute in New York. And for me, I didn't go to culinary school to learn how to cook because I'd worked in 5 restaurants, some of them really top restaurants in London. So I knew how to cook, but I wanted to understand the teaching side. I wanted to understand how to run a culinary school, the business side of it. So when I went to London, I studied business. It really came in handy as well. So all my time in culinary school, all I was gathering was data and knowledge. I pretty much used to talk to everybody from cleaners to receptionists because I wanted to understand everything. And with cooking of food also, I wanted to understand the whys and the whats and why are we adding this? Why are we doing it for so long? So I'm one of those annoying students that will keep on asking questions. And that's because everything I learn to be able to reteach. So for me, it was very important that I understand everything around it. Part of the deal with my dad was, look, if you're going to go to culinary school, he was going to pay half of it, and if I can raise half of it. So I did raise almost half, but it paid the rest. But in raising that half, I sold everything I had, basically. I had a car, I sold it. I started a dry cleaning business. I sold that to my friend. I borrowed money. So I came back to Nigeria, and there was no money left to start up. Even though I had these big dreams when I was in culinary school that when I get back, it's going to look like this, it's going to look like that. But unfortunately, I came back and I was broke. So I had no choice but to start small, which when I teach students about business of food now, I always advise them, look, try to start small. Big dreams are good, but it's better to grow into it. So I rented a small apartment. The kitchen in it was smaller than this office. And that's where Red Dish actually started from. It was in Egbeda, which is a remote area that I thought nobody was going to come for. But when I started letting people know that, look, I'm training people for a culinary school, people got excited, and I got my first 3 students that registered. Those 3 students still ended up working with Red Dish upon 2 of them still work in Red Dish today. One of them traveled abroad. So they were so sold on the dream back then that they wanted to be a part of it after they finished their program. But yes, it was really small, nothing like what you see here today. It was really tiny. This is our studio kitchen. We use this for recording sometimes, and sometimes we teach here as well. The professional 1-year students use this as their classroom as well. This is Chef Nikki, and this is Dami, in charge of our PR. I think when I started, I had a lot of doubts. At the point I was thinking maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should go and beg my dad and say I want that bank job, because it was tough. Because first of all, Nigerians thought, even one of my friends was telling me that, why are you trying to teach people? Nobody wants to learn. They learn from their mothers, or, why are you trying to teach people how to cook? This is stuff that people learn at home, and they're like, you're a guy, you should be working here. So I had a lot of negativity around it, that, this is never going to work. People thought that after like a year, everything will fall apart. This is not a business that's sustainable. So that was tough. And then also, sourcing ingredients. I came back from French culinary school where they taught different things. Here in Nigeria, we did not have a lot of the ingredients. So I had to almost dumb down the syllable a lot to start. And then we built on that again. So it was tough. A lot of Nigerians didn't know a lot of the stuff that we were trying to teach then. So we had to come down and go back and review. And a lot of things I learned along the way about running business in Nigeria. Because while I was in the UK, I used to run a business there. It was very different to when I got here and I saw the way things were done. You don't have any support from the government, you don't have support from anybody. You're pretty much on your own. So it's been tough. All right, this is the pantry. Very, very busy. You can pass your. We call this the demonstration kitchen or the demo kitchen. And this, the different classes go on here, but the continental class is currently going on here. Chef Isi and Chef Lola. What are we making today? Okay. I think for this business, it's been mostly organic growth. We've shied away from trying to get loan and trying to get finance, because we find that, look, you don't want to put yourself in a corner, especially in this economy where things are not as it seems and things are very quick. So the dollar is increasing every time. If you get finance from an American company, for example, and they give you dollars, they're going to expect dollars back. By the time you're paying the dollars rate has changed, you're losing money. So for me, I've tried as much as possible to grow as organically as possible, so that we are not shackled and tied up. But you can still get finance, you can still get capital, but we have tried as much as possible to just grow organically. So when I say organically, I mean basically, like I said, I started small, and when I started with almost nothing. I did all the decor myself, I did woodwork myself, everything. I came from a DIY culture, living in the UK, so I did a lot of that myself. So as people paid money, as the money was coming in the business, I was reinvesting in the business. And then when it was time to move from my home to another place, I met a friend that is now the director here. He runs the Lagos school now. So he was the only person that believed in the dream and put forward some money towards the business. But since then, what we've basically done is reinvested money back in the business. So we are not frivolous people. We're not trying to be big boys. So we try as much as possible to just reinvest the money in the business, use it to grow the business on its own.
The food service industry is growing fast, which makes becoming a chef a lucrative and appealing career path for many people. Additionally, the growth of the Food Network and proliferation of YouTube celebrity chefs have glamorized the industry. However, success in the food service industry isn't easy. 60% of restaurants don't make it past their first year, and 80% go out of business within 5 years. According to an IBIS World Report on single-location full-service restaurants in the US, 67% of a restaurant's costs go directly to wages and purchase expenses. Additionally, the average profit margin for a restaurant after removing all other costs is only 6.2%. With a profit margin this slim, insolvency is unfortunately never far away. However, in Nigeria, the fast food industry is a major contributor to the economy, and it is one of the most lucrative businesses in Nigeria today. The annual value of the fast food business in Nigeria was 250 billion naira in 2015, which is approximately $700 million. The Association of Fast Food and Confectioners of Nigeria indicated that the size of the fast food industry in Nigeria grows at the rate of 4% annually, with a rapid rate of return on investment. According to a research paper, the number of fast food restaurants in Nigeria is increasing at a geometric rate and may double in 5 years.
I think one of the biggest inspirations for starting up the culinary school was the fact that restaurants were going abroad to bring in chefs. So they would go and hire their head chef and pay him in dollars, amounting to millions. They'll give them accommodation, travel, all of that as a package. And then they'll find people that were not trained chefs, hire them, and then pay them peanuts, and then all of that. So, for me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, good food is going to come out of that kitchen. So that was one of my biggest inspirations. And for me, we've worked with a lot of restaurants. We still work with a lot of restaurants. And for me, it was about showing them that we can grow our own talents here. We have a lot of talented chefs that came out of Red Dish, some earning over $1 million now as chefs in restaurants. And that for me is what keeps me going, because there's a lot of time I think, this is getting a lot. But when I see my students doing great things, growing up in the ranks, and then remembering back to when I was trying to look for a job and they were offering me 30,000 naira as a chef, even though I just came back from the UK, that was what really, this is the things that I look at and I say, I have to keep going for the thousands of people that still have this dream of becoming a chef and working as a chef. But I think restaurants are getting more open to the idea of we don't have to go abroad. We have a lot of homegrown talents. We have a culinary school in Nigeria now that we can go to and they can give us chefs. So part of our program here also is when you finish your professional chef's training, there's an internship for 3 months in a restaurant or hotel. So by the time you go there and gain some experience there, most of these restaurants will want to retain you. So again, we're trying to help to create jobs and create opportunities for some of our students. So for me, I have a restaurant project that is 5 years in the making. And the reason it's 5 years in the making is I want to get it right. I'm not in a hurry to get it. It's going to be called the Burgundy. It's Africa. It's not just Nigeria. So the idea is I have a tour of Africa this year. I'm going to travel to 10 countries in Africa. I'm going to Namibia shortly, and then Ethiopia. And the idea is to go and experience food, experience cultures, and bring back a little bit of what I experienced to the table at the Burgundy. So I'm going to do 10 countries and end back in Nigeria here for the launch of the restaurant, which hopefully would be one of the first restaurants in Africa to be internationally recognized and hopefully win a Michelin star. I think our palettes are opening up a bit more. I think 10 years ago, if I brought lobster for you or I brought you oysters, you'd be repulsed, you'd be like, what is this? You won't want to eat it, you'd be scared. But I think more people are more traveled now. The networks and TV networks have shown more food programs, international food programs. A lot more people know ingredients that they didn't know 10 years ago. So I think the culture is changing. People's palettes are opening more. They are more willing to try new things. They are seeing how to cook more things. So I think definitely we're going in the right direction. I would say it's a tough business. Just knowing how to cook is not enough. A lot of people think because they can cook or because their families have said, oh, your food is amazing, you should start a business. A lot of them think, let's go for it. But you need to also learn the business side of food. Like people say, oh, you can't go wrong with food. That's a lie. You can easily go wrong with food. And a lot of food businesses close every year. You just see them, they start up and they can't survive. So you have to understand the business side of it. Yeah, if you don't understand it, then you need to find somewhere to learn and educate yourself. And with being a chef, you can never stop learning. Learning I learn every day. I open up a book, I look online, I go on TV. I'm learning. The best chefs in the world are the ones that continuously learn, and they are not too proud. So don't be hasty to become a celebrity chef or be an Instagram chef. Learn your trade, learn your craft, better yourself, and continue learning. That's what I would advise.
The success that restaurant businesses has met with can be attributed to the fact that eating is a necessity. As a matter of fact, it is the number one need of man. Another factor that has contributed to the success of restaurant businesses is the busy lifestyle that an average Nigerian leads. Most people are so busy that they consider home cooking a waste of time. The business, when planned and executed well, rarely experiences poor sales. Even when other commodities experience poor sales, restaurant business thrives. This is largely attributed to the limitless target market for the business. Despite the success of the industry, please be warned, it is not rosy all the way. Running a restaurant is quite a tedious task. In fact, it is one of the most stressful businesses to run in Nigeria. The biggest risk for the restaurant industry is rising wages and food costs. If you're not constantly working to improve profitability and grow your revenue, the costs will take over. Despite the challenges associated with owning a restaurant, many individuals have found successes in this sector of the economy. According to Chef Heroes, in an economy like Nigeria's, where it is difficult to get funding, food business is one of the fastest businesses you can start with little or no capital. As a matter of fact, he stated, "I started my business with 25,000 naira, and today we are a multi-million naira company." A lot of people have seen the journey of a few chefs and have been inspired by it, so much so that I can advise that if you are out of a job or you are not getting enough on the job, start a snack business and deliver to your friends. Before you know it, orders will be coming in. There is enough space for everyone. We are a country with a population of about 200 million people. People need food. The demand is really huge. Thus, venturing into the food service industry in Nigeria with proper planning and execution is definitely not a bad idea.
Part of the things we're still struggling with now is the fact that a lot of people have spoiled the name Nigeria, and one of the things we're trying to get, one of the accreditations we are trying to get is City and Guilds, which we got so far with them, and then all of a sudden they said they are not doing Nigeria anymore. Like anything Nigeria, they are not doing, because so many people have been so fraudulent with it. Someone will get the accreditation and then be selling it to other schools, and then they would be using that person. So, it was hard for them. So they had to stop it. So we're now going through Ghana, which, doesn't make a lot of sense, So I think a lot of things has gotten to that stage where we're having to double fight. We're having to give them extra assurances. So we've partnered with a lot of bodies. We've partnered with some other schools abroad as well, so that our certificate is also recognized in those countries. So we're having to go through channels that normally should be a simple process for us. But because it's Nigeria, they always feel like, look, you guys are going to get this, and then you're going to start, selling it again to other people to make money, and that's because a lot of people have done that. So we pride ourselves on our reputation, and our reputation speaks for us. So our students that do go abroad as well. So for example, people can use that as a direct entry. So if you get a certificate from Red Dish, you can use that for direct. I think it's called direct entry program or something for Canada, which a lot of our students are doing. But we're also drilling it down into the students that you're not just going there and then you get there and you become lazy. You always have to remember that you're from Red Dish. And what you do will set a precedent for the rest of our students that are open to come there. So you need to make us proud. It was a name that stuck. So when I started the whole thing and I started cooking, when I came back, my mom gave me this set of plates that were red in color. And I started cooking and plating and posting on Instagram and Twitter. And I would post daily on this red plate. And one guy on Instagram just said, "This guy, you have come again. You want to kill us with your Red Dish Chronicles." And the name just, everybody started saying Red Dish Chronicles. It became an hashtag, and then it just stuck. And I just figured, you know what, since everybody already knows Red Dish, the culinary school will be called Red Dish Chronicles. Apart from food, I'm big on photography. I love photography. I'm getting into other aspects of photography that is not even food now, and I'm doing a lot of cinematography as well. I feel like the space, the cinematographic space for food is very, very limiting in Nigeria. We don't have a lot of food content out there, so I am very eager to push that food content out there. So yeah, photography, big on that. I like holidays. I don't get a lot of them, but my wife forces it. Every year we have to go somewhere at least, or 2 places. And when I'm on holiday, I try as much as possible not to think about work, or I will go and hide somewhere and quickly text and say, you guys must do this, and then get back to the holiday. And so I do like traveling a lot. You know, so I use that as, because when I'm in Nigeria, there's no chance. I'm working Monday to Sunday. I'm working from early, I'm first to get to the office, last to leave. Thank you.